Good morning. I'm going to continue on. We're going to read some from the book of Enoch today. We're talking about how this is lesson 9. We're talking about how what is going on behind the scenes, the battle over the earth, and the territorial nature of the demonic. This is going to apply to our situation today, all over the earth. That's why I'm going into this. But the Lord keeps talking to me about worship and about adoring Him. That's the most important thing. It's easy to get about the work of the Lord. I do that a lot. I'm a worker, and man, I was reading something by a man called Harold Pittman last night who he died, went to heaven, went to the second heaven, saw the demonic ranks and all this stuff. Oh my goodness. And it's pretty serious stuff, and I got a good dose of the fear of the Lord, which I needed. I've been here worshiping this morning, and it's all about our devotion to Him and about where we are with Him personally. It's not about what we do for Him. I mean, that comes out of that, but it has to come out of that. So just that word, our adoration of Him, our worship of Him in these days is very, very important. Not only just with our person, it helps us stay in line with what He wants us to be doing. Because if we're not connected to Him, we're just out there, trying to make things right on our own. It's works of the flesh. And so if but if I'm adoring Him, if I'm spending time worshiping, adoring Him, and however form that takes, for me it helps to have a guitar, but it's not for everybody. Then if we're in His presence, we get a good dose of the fear of the Lord, which we need to operate every day. Much less in these times we're living in, where we're seeing the demonic manifest all over the place. I don't know if any of you've seen some of the stuff on. A friend of mine sent me something that was on Instagram, a film out of that the Seattle, the Chaz place. It's so demonic what's going on. The demons are manifesting. So anyway, I'm going to start with. I said yesterday, Jude 14 quotes Enoch, quotes the book of Enoch. So these New Testament writers, the biblical writers, read this extra scriptural stuff. And, so we can glean a lot from these writings. So here's Jude 14. It's from the book of Enoch, chapter 2, verse 1. Here's my copy. You can find different copies in English. It says, "Behold, He comes with 10,000s of His saints to execute judgment upon them and destroy the wicked and reprove all the carnal for everything which the sinful and ungodly have done and committed against Him." That's the quote from Jude 14. Now I want to read you this account of what happened in Genesis 6 when the fallen angels came and mated with daughters of men. It says, I'm going to be starting in Enoch chapter 12, verse 5. "Then the Lord said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go tell the watchers of heaven who have deserted the lofty sky and their holy everlasting station, who have been polluted with women." Now remember how 2 Peter 2 and Jude 6 talk about angels who left their proper domain. And this is where Enoch is here. "They have been polluted with women, have done as the sons of men do by taking to themselves wives, and who have been greatly corrupted on the earth. That on the earth they shall never obtain peace and remission of sin. For they shall not rejoice in their offspring, they shall behold the slaughter of their beloved, shall lament for the destruction of their sons, and shall petition forever, but shall not obtain mercy and peace." He's talking about these fallen angels. Let's see. Next, we're going to chapter 14 of Enoch, starting at verse 2. I think verse 2 is the only one I'm going to read. Yeah. As he has created and given to men the power of comprehending the word of understanding, so has he created and given to me the power of reproving the watchers. Now, the watchers is what Enoch calls these angels who fell, these sons of God. In Genesis 6, they're referred to. He's given to me the power of reproving the watchers, quote, the offspring of heaven. I have written your petition in my vision. It's been shown to me that what you request will not be granted you as long as the world endures. He's talking about that these angels, these fallen angels, have requested of Enoch to go and make petition for them before God because of their sin. And Enoch is told they're not going to be forgiven. They have to be chained in darkness. Again, 2 Peter 2 says that. But what I want you to see here is that Enoch calls the watchers the offspring of heaven. Now that sounds like you are all children of the Most High from Psalm 82, where I have referred the offspring, you are all children of the Most High, could be sons of God. We could interchange those two terms. Just to point out to you that group that is standing in the congregation that God is standing among, because they are children of the Most High, could be these sons of God who ended up falling and became fallen angels of 2 Peter 2 are right there in Psalm 82. I mean, with the same group. They're of the same group. Now, I wanted you to see also just maybe one more place in Enoch. This is chapter 14 and verse 17. Enoch says, attentively I surveyed it and saw that it contained an exalted throne. He's talking about a vision that he's seen of a fire. He sees this fire coming toward him. Above were lightnings and agitated stars, while its roof exhibited a blazing fire. And then he says, I surveyed it, saw an exalted throne, the appearance of which was like that of frost, while its circumference resembled the orb of brilliant sun, and there was the voice of the cherubim. From underneath this mighty throne, rivers of flaming fire issued. Now, this whole picture, you could put it right next to Daniel 7, 9-10, where the throne that Daniel saw was engulfed in flames. It also reminds me of Revelation 15, where there's a river, a sea, that like crystal, that was inflamed in fire. So there's in Revelation 15, he was before the throne. These were martyrs standing on the flames, standing on this sea that was engulfed in flames. So I just wanted you to see those passages. So because there's tons in Enoch that you could just say, gosh, that's where they got this. Whoever wrote Hebrews got that passage, got that phrase right from Enoch. It's fascinating. So I'm kind of was verifying the book of Enoch for you. Now, why did I bring that up? I wanted you to see that Enoch also talked about these fallen angels, these watchers, who obviously started out in heaven and ended up on earth and were sinned greatly. Okay, now, I want to note that, Enoch 7:7, I didn't read this. Oh, I need to go back here. Hold on just a minute. I want you to see where Enoch even says where these fallen angels descended. He says, the sons of men, here we go. The sons of men had multiplied in those days that daughters were born to them, elegant and beautiful. And when the angels, the sons of heaven, there's another sons, going back to going back to Job 1, the sons of God appearing before God. Okay, when the angels, the sons of heaven, beheld them, the daughters of men, they became enamored of them, saying to each other, come, let us select for ourselves wives from the progeny of men, and let us beget children. Their leader, Samyazah, said to them, I fear that you may perhaps be indisposed to the performance of this enterprise, and that I alone shall suffer for so grievous a crime. But they answered him and said, we all swear, bind ourselves by mutual execrations, that we will not change our intention, but execute our projected undertaking. Then they swore all together, these angels, and bound themselves by mutual execrations. I don't know what that word means. Their whole number was 200 who descended upon Ardis, and Ardis is an old word for the earth. It's Ard in Kurdish. It's fascinating, these old words. Which is the top of Mount Hermon, Armon. That mountain, therefore, was called Hermon because they had sworn upon it and bound themselves by mutual execration. So I wanted to see they descended upon Mount Hermon. Well, that's the same as the Hebrew Mount Hermon, we say. Hermon. Hermon is the Hebrew. It's the same place. Okay, so they descended on Mount Hermon. Now, Mount Hermon in Hebrew is cherem. It comes from the word cherem, which is the word for devoted to destruction. You remember when Joshua had taken Jericho, and they were going to take the land of Ai, or the city of Ai, next to that, after that. That's spelled A-I. And remember when one of the Israelites, what was his name, Achan, took some of the took a Babylonian garment and hid it under his tent. He took some of the plunder. Well, all the plunder was supposed to be cherem, which means devoted to destruction. And it was called the accursed thing. That's Joshua 7:13, where you see the story where the accursed thing was taken. That word there is the cherem thing was taken. In Arabic, they have the same word, haram. If something is haram, it's devoted to destruction. It's unpermissible for you. Now, so we've got the meaning of Hermon, where the angels descended. These rebellious angels descended. They landed on Mount Hermon, on Mount Hermon. Now, later we learned that Mount Hermon is one of the places where Og, king of Bashan, ruled. That is in Deuteronomy 3:11. Now, do you remember who Og of Bashan, or Bashan, we say in English many times? Who is Og of Bashan? He is a giant. We know that because of, well, several reasons, but one of the reasons, remember, he had the bedstead that was, let's see if I wrote it down. And I didn't write the measurement here, but, the long bedstead. He was obviously a giant. He also ruled 60 cities. Ashtaroth and Edrei were included. And now, so we've got a giant now. Later, when Moses came in with the people of Israel, they defeated Og, king of Bashan. That's that Deuteronomy 3:11 passage. And why was the giant ruling over that area? That's a question for us. Where the rebellious angels descended, that we know they mated with women and they had a race of giants. Nephilim, actually, we have heard that means the fallen ones, but there's an Aramaic word which these passages, the first 5 books were rewritten, over and over again in the Babylonian captivity, and the language there was Aramaic. Jews learned to speak Aramaic, and there's an Aramaic word that means giants. It is Nephilim. And it's obviously what is referred to. So it's not really from that Hebrew root to fall, nafal. It's from an Aramaic word root, which is a giant, which means a giant. I learned all this from this Michael Heiser book. Fascinating. Anyway, so they're the ones who had this race. Well, there's the king, the giant reigning on Mount Hermon. Now we also have some interesting evidence from some tablets, some clay tablets, thousands of them that were found in 1928 in a place called Ugarit, which is northern Syria, that mention Ashtaroth, Edrei, these cities, and their language is really close to Hebrew. It's closest to Hebrew of any of the ancient Semitic languages, these people who lived in Ugarit, which is northern Syria. Now they talk about their chief god was called El, which is the same root of the Hebrew God. It's El. Elohim is who we refer to. It's written Elohim most of the time in the Hebrew scriptures. You know, like the word sheep in English is both plural and singular. This is the same in this word Elohim. Because remember in Psalm 92 we have Elohim talking to the Elohim. You are all sons of Elohim, it says. Anyway, I'm losing my place here. Okay, so what I'm saying is in these ancient texts that were found in Ugarit in northern Syria, they have also Bashan, but they spelled it Bathan. It's the name of a place, which is the same as Mount Hermon. Bashan, Og of Bashan, he ruled over Mount Hermon. And Bashan and Hermon are the same geographical area. Bashan, Bathan in Ugarit, it meant serpent. So from ancient times, that place, Bashan, where Og of Bashan was ruling, Bashan, anyone that referred to Bashan referred it back to, that's the place of the serpent. Now that's interesting. They also had in these writings these characters by the name of Rephaim. And Rephaim in the Hebrew Bible, in our Bible, it's the Hebrew word used for giant. Whenever you see it, I can read you off all these scriptures. Deuteronomy 2:11, 2:20, 3:11, 3:13. All of that's translated in our Bible giant, but the Hebrew word is Rephaim. R-E-P-H-A-I-M. Now, Rephaim in the Ugaritic texts they were not giants, or they were not referred to as giants. They were referred to as dead warrior kings who ruled over the underworld. Now, the serpent in the garden, whom we see showing up in Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28, remember our passages where he's called son of the dawn, the shining one, Lucifer. In both those passages, Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28, this shining one ends up in the pit. Now here are these Rephaim in the Ugaritic texts, the ancient texts, who are called, they're referred to as dead warrior kings who rule over the underworld. They're in the pit. Okay, so we've got Mount Hermon, where the fallen angels descended. That's where they came down to do their rebellion. You've got Bashan in the same area. The giant Og ends up having that as his domain. It's in the north. It's in the northern part of Israel, which is the west central part of Syria. And it's today the Golan Heights, one of the most contested areas in Israel. That's all very, very interesting. You've got warfare like crazy over that area. Now, one other interesting thing is that I read Michael Heiser believes that because Jesus, the Mount of Transfiguration, they were near Caesarea Philippi. That's the area they were in. And it said they went up to a very high mountain. The only real high mountain around there is Mount Hermon, Mount Hermon, Bashan. So when he went up on that mountain, was he taking back that territory? Well, yes, he was. We'll go into this more. I want to give you that good intro because we're looking at what's going on there now. And there's more to be said about Bashan and Hermon, those mountains. All right, that's enough for today. Went overtime. Bless you. Love you.